This song, Precious Lord, Take My Hand, was written by Thomas Dorsey. And he was also Dr. Dorsey. And he didn't really start out writing gospel songs. And in fact, gospel songs was a term that he coined. It used to be called evangelistic songs or evangelistic music. And he kind of played with the jazz greats. But when he was converted after hearing an evangelistic series and was really moved by some evangelistic music, he wanted to change his life and change his career. And so he started writing gospel songs. But, he didn't have money. He didn't really have a strong footing in gospel songs. And so he settled in a place where he could write gospel songs and yet still work with the jazz greats for a while until he kind of got his footing. And he wrote a piece of music, and with $5 and 500 1-cent stamps, sent music out to 500 churches around the country. And that's how he got started. And then as he became more and more well-known, he started traveling about, singing, playing the songs that he had written. And in 1930, he got into his Ford car to go on a road trip of performing music, gospel songs. He did not have money for a train. He had a young wife who was near delivering, giving birth to their first child. And he had been out writing, performing, and he came home and he found her asleep. So he did not disturb her, he didn't wake her, he just slipped he took his music case out and went back to the car where there was another gentleman in the car with him who was going to travel with him. But as they started down the road, the other man changed his mind and decided he wasn't going to go. So Dr. Dorsey went on his own. And I want to read this to you. It says, "The next night in St. Louis, while I was singing in a meeting, a boy brought a telegram to me in the church. I opened it, and it read, 'Your wife just died.' I could not cry out in the meeting, but as soon as I could get out, I called my home in Chicago, and all I could hear them say was, 'Nettie is dead. Nettie is dead.' Gus Evans, who is now a pastor in Memphis, Tennessee, consented to drive me to Chicago. We arrived the next morning, and I rushed into the house. They had not moved the body of my wife, but would not let me see her. I had a fine, healthy-looking baby boy. But that night, my baby died. Although he got only a faint glimpse of the light of day and a few short breaths of life, I gave him the name Thomas A. Dorsey, Jr. After putting my wife and baby away in the same casket, I began to feel that God had done me an injustice. I didn't want to serve him anymore or write any more gospel songs. I wanted to return back to jazz, the world I once knew so well. Then a voice spoke to me and said, 'You are not alone. I tried to speak to you before. It was you that should have gotten out of that car and not gone to St. Louis instead of the other man that got out and stayed home.' And I said, 'Thank you, Lord. I understand. I'll never make that same mistake again.' Everyone was so kind to me in those sad hours. The next Saturday night, Professor Theodore Fry and I went to Madame Malone's Poro College, which had a beautiful and comfortable music room, well equipped with a good piano. And there in my solitude, I began to browse over the keys like a gentle herd pasturing on tender surf, and something happened to me there. I had a strange feeling inside, a sudden calm, a quiet stillness. As my fingers began to manipulate over the keys, words began to fall into place on the melody like drops of water falling from the crevice of a rock. And this is what he wrote. Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, let me stand. I am tired, I am weak, I'm worn. Through the storm, through the night, lead me on to the light. Take my hand, precious Lord.